Good morning, I am Luz Luna.
And I'm Cadence Wachowski. Today we are here with Matt Meyer, County Executive for the state of Delaware. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, Cadence. Good morning, Luz.
Good morning.
How are you doing, or how was your day so far?
It's been good. Just coming now from a construction simulator that Corrado Construction has. It's kind of cool. It looks like a video game, but it actually trains you in how to use a backhoe and a lot of heavy construction equipment. So that was a lot of fun. It's neat, the workforce development opportunities that anyone has, but especially kids. The world you're going into is really exciting.
Wow. Your official bio states that you were deployed in Iraq, started 2 successful businesses, used to teach math, and worked as an attorney. You have done a lot in your lifetime. Would you care to elaborate on these accomplishments?
Well, thanks, Cadence. One thing you did not mention that is among the most important is that I actually started my career as a high school journalist.
Wow.
I was editor-in-chief of my high school newspaper. Back then, I'm embarrassed to say, you'll think I'm a really old guy, but we had to lay out the newspaper by scissors. Like, we'd cut the articles out and paste them onto the page and then send it away, and they'd print the newspaper. A little bit different than this beautiful TV studio, your podcast studio, and the great work here with Penn Media. But it was great training. What you're doing is amazing training to do a lot of those things you talked about for me. But you probably thinking now about, do I want to be a newscaster? Maybe I want to be behind the camera, or what role do you want to play in media? What you may not realize is this is also giving you exposure to all sorts of professions. You talk to a county executive, you talk to someone who started a business, you talk to people, you talk to teachers, you talk to doctors, all sorts of different things, and it gives you an opportunity and deep exposure to say, oh, I want to do that one day. So congratulations to both of you. This is great training. Just don't ask me questions that are too tough to.
Mr. Meyer, could you tell us more about what a county executive is and what you do?
So there are 3 counties in Delaware, Newcastle County, Kent, and Sussex County. Unlike most states, in Delaware, one county has a majority of the population of the state. So out of about 1 million people in Delaware, close to 600,000 live in Newcastle County, right? 600,000 people. My job is to provide them with parks, right? We have 250 parks, 15 public libraries, like the Route 9 Library, the Meyer Library, the Woodlawn Library in the city of Wilmington. Also public safety. We have the 2nd largest police force in the state. Newcastle County paramedics driving around in brown cars, brown uniforms. Our 911 center, right? And keep in mind, when you get in trouble, I think everybody knows you call 911. Something we introduced recently is that if you're in trouble and it's not safe to call, you can actually text 911. So we say call 911 if you can, text 911 if you can't. In addition, we have an amazing paramedic service that goes out, obviously saving lives every single day. We also have an affordable housing program that I think we're going to talk about a little bit later. We have sports leagues, people, mostly adults, playing. Like, you imagine if you're in high school sports now, you're thinking, how do I, one day I want to go pro? Well, what if you don't go pro and you're 25, 30, 35 and you still want to stay healthy? So we have sports leagues to keep people healthy. And maybe most importantly, and no one thinks about this when they think about politics and government. Very few people think about it when they choose to vote for me or not vote for me. But maybe most importantly is we are in charge of your sewers, your wastewater. So make sure that, like, when you don't normally think, oh, I'm flushing the toilet, it's a good thing my politicians are doing their jobs, otherwise it wouldn't work. So, but sewage is really important.
Do you enjoy it?
I do, Luz. It's really important, whatever you choose. And I know you as a senior and you, Luz, as a junior, are thinking a lot about, what do I want to do? Do I want to go to college? What do I want to study in college? What path do I want to take? Most important is ultimately to find something you enjoy. My job is not for everyone. A lot of people look at my job and say, that would be terrible. Like, there are 600,000 people in the county. There are about 210,000 properties, right? 210,000 properties. Most of them get sewer service from us, from the county. If the sewer service works, right? If you wash the dishes and the water goes down the drain, do you call me and say thank you so much? No. But what if it doesn't work? If a sewer pipe breaks and it stops working, are you going to call? You're gonna call someone, right? And are you gonna be happy or are you gonna be angry?
Angry.
Angry. So that means almost everyone who calls me isn't happy. They're angry. They're like my sewer broke. I called 911 and no one picked up. I did, right? I'm not getting happy calls most of the time, but I like it because my job is to fix problems. My job is, okay, your sewer pipe is broken, and how do we put together the most efficient system to fix your problem as quickly as possible so that water can go back down the drain, your toilet can flush, your 911 call can be responded to quickly and efficiently. I like that.
Okay. Was getting into government and politics always your plan?
You know, it wasn't always my plan. As I mentioned, I was a high school journalist. I think I saw myself kind of on the other side, sort of criticizing and analyzing what politicians did rather than being one. My path led me to teaching, as you mentioned, to a diplomat in Iraq, and I developed this hunger to make sure that particularly local government and local government services provided a high quality.
Our journalism class was the Hope documentary that you worked on. How did you get involved with the project?
Great, Luz. The Pathway Home, it's an amazing documentary. All you have to do if you want to watch it completely free, my mom says nothing in life is free. This is actually free. Go to YouTube and just Google or just search on YouTube the Pathway Home Newcastle County or the Pathway Home Delaware, and you can spend 16 minutes watching this great video by Short Order Productions, a local production house. It's about how we in Newcastle County took a 192-room Sheraton hotel and within the matter of a few weeks turned it into the Hope Center, which is the largest homeless shelter, the largest emergency shelter in Delaware state history.
What is your role in the Hope Center project?
So my role initially was to approve the purchase of it. I manage county government. In county government, we proposed to county council, the legislative branch of county government, we decided to purchase this hotel. And so that was my role. And then once we purchased it, my job was to oversee it and manage it and run it and make sure that everyone going in there is being treated with dignity. And so that's what we work on every single day. To date, there are about 1,700 people, about 1,700 people who've stayed at least one night in the Hope Center. Many of them have stayed there for weeks or months. And there have been 200 families that have come into the Hope Center with nowhere to live and left with a stable, permanent place to live.
The documentary won an Emmy, correct?
I'm not sure. I don't remember. Oh, wait. Yeah, looks like we did. Looks like we won an Emmy. Yeah. Yeah, we won it. We won an Emmy.
Okay. This is a first for Delaware, right?
You know, Delaware is a couple hundred years old. I haven't been here the whole time, so I don't know if I can answer that question. Have you been here since the beginning of Delaware? You, Luz? No. So I'm told it is the first time that anyone in Delaware has won an Emmy. I should mention we won it with Short Order Productions. It's certainly the first time that any government in Delaware has won an Emmy. Most of the groups applying are groups like Penn Media, Channel 6, Fox. They're most of the winners of Mid-Atlantic Emmy Awards. So as I was saying to Mr. Phillips, I encourage Penn Media to look at applying for an Emmy.
How does it feel to be a part of a project that has helped so many people but has also won an Emmy?
You know, Luz, as I said, a lot of my job is fixing sewer pipes. It's making sure 911 calls are answered faster. It's not stuff that makes the front page in the newspaper. It's not stuff people are paying a lot of attention to. And not just for me, but for the workers at the Hope Center. People like Carrie Casey, Nicole Waters, who really created the Hope Center. Renee Beeman, who works for the state, Lisa Burton Oglesby, and Kim Eppiheimer. They help create the Hope Center. They help make it work every day. And for them, it's wonderful for them to be recognized for their tremendous work.
When did the Hope Center project actually begin?
So we put together a committee on vulnerable communities when the pandemic started. We put together, and there are a lot of committees in government that you just sort of create a committee and say, go write me a report, and you ignore the report. But this, I sat down in the committee, I said, this is really serious stuff. People are really in trouble during the pandemic. I want you to identify who are the most vulnerable people and how do we help them. They came up with the idea in the summer of 2020. By September of 2020, the Sheraton went up for auction. You probably remember then, nobody was staying in hotels. Hotels were empty. A lot of hotels didn't know what to do. They were going out of business. So they put the hotel up for sale. We purchased the hotel on December 1st, 2020. And we means Newcastle County government, which means the people of Newcastle County, which if you live in Newcastle County means you have some small ownership of this hotel. So on December 1st, 2020, we bought it. And on December 15th, 2020, we opened it as the largest emergency shelter in state's history.
How long did the process of buying the hotel take?
So it went up for auction in September. I think we won the auction in October or November, and we purchased it December 1st. They came to me and said, okay, we can open this within 6 weeks or 8 weeks. And I said, it's cold. It's an emergency. People are sleeping on the street. We're not going to own an empty facility. Just do whatever you can, make it safe, and then get it open. We can work on constructing it and making it perfect, making it a lot better while people are already living there. So it took us 2 weeks from when we bought it to when we opened it.
Were there any setbacks or like people that were against the project?
There were a lot of people behind the scenes who were against the project. There are a lot of people who thought it cost millions of dollars to buy that hotel. And a lot of people asked, I work hard, I pay my tax money, why should you take my tax money that I worked hard for and spend it on people who aren't working, right? They're not they're homeless, they're not doing what they should be doing. And to them I say this, first of all the time, every year, the government, our government in the state is taking tens of millions of dollars, or at least $10 million, and spending it to bring large private companies here, right? So if they're giving $5 million to Amazon, to DuPont, to the large companies, when are we gonna find those resources for the most vulnerable, right? If we're giving it to big companies, let's give it to the little guy as well. And the second thing is this, that this facility is actually saving money. It's actually saving money. So Christiana Care, right, which we all know, they have a medical facility in the Hope Center right now. Christiana Care has a problem. Many hospitals have a problem. That a lot of people go to the emergency room, not because they need emergency care, but they don't have a doctor. And they just go there for primary care. And hospitals lose a lot of money from that. And you or I, when we go to the emergency room, we often have to wait a lot longer when we have an emergency, because there are people there, if you've been in an emergency room, there are a lot of people there who don't really have an emergency need. What we've done in the Hope Centers, we've taken a good number of those people and given them primary care. So that keeps them out of the emergency room. So by investing this money, we're actually saving money in a whole bunch of other ways.
After watching the documentary about the Hope Center, our class came up with several questions that we were hoping you could answer.
I hope so too.
What is the process for getting to and staying at the Hope Center?
Please call 1-833-FIND-BED, 1-833-FIND-BED. If you ever don't remember that number, just call 211.
Are there any requirements or restrictions?
Sure, there are requirements and restrictions on getting into the Hope Center. There are 3 basic guides that we have for the Hope Center. The Hope Center must be safe for everyone. It must be secure for everyone. That means the residents who are there, the staff, the partners, like the doctors at Christiana Care, nurses who are coming in, and other counselors and workers. So it must be safe, it must be secure, and everyone must be treated with dignity. That's the residents, the staff, that's people cleaning the rooms. And so obviously in order to do that, you need a number of rules and restrictions, and so we do that.
How does the Hope Center assure that incoming residents are not bringing anything unsafe?
That's a great question. We have a high-quality security firm that checks.
How long can a resident stay there for?
So when we opened the Hope Center, there was no limit. Some residents stayed for over a year. We're finding our most successful cases seem to be staying about 6 or 7 months. Right now, we're reduced, based on funding requirements, we've reduced the maximum stay to about 90 days. But it's an intensive 90 days where we work with you to move from a place where you can't afford or can't find a place to live to a place where you can not only move out to a place to live, but it will be stable and secure for the individual and the family for the long term.
The documentary stated that they don't just give a place to stay, but also offer assistance with whatever residents need, like counseling, getting jobs, finding permanent homes, and healthcare. Does the center provide those things on site, or do they connect residents to an outside agency? How does it work?
It's all on site. I want you to imagine for a minute that if you or your family hit a place in life where you just have nowhere to go, you have nowhere to stay, so you have to call that number, 833-FIND-BED, or someone you care about calls 211 and says, we need a place to stay. Think about, for you or your family, for you to hit that point, it's not one thing that went wrong. Usually it's multiple things. Most homeless shelters, right? Most homeless shelters, you go to the homeless shelter, it's pretty much a bed to sleep in, often food, right? And if you need to see a doctor, they'll give you a phone number, or they'll say connect to this doctor. If you need mental health, substance use assistance, they'll say connect. If there's some domestic violence and you need to connect to a violence counselor, they'll connect you to an organization. Many of the residents, they don't have a working cell phone. They don't have an easy way to communicate with people. They don't have a car, not in all cases, but very often. They don't have an easy way to go from place to place. And even if they have those things, they don't necessarily know how to negotiate all these systems, how to figure all this stuff out. So what we've done is we've put it all in that same place. So there's Christiana Care, as I mentioned. There's the Bridge Clinic, which is an agency of the state, the Department of Health and Social Services. They're not just there to assist, they actually have an office in the Hope Center. So if you have some emergency need, you can go right there and get substance use, mental health assistance. There's job placement. There's actually a large number of individuals and families without a home have pets. And the pets, if you can imagine, if you're a single person living alone in the woods, like that pet may be the most important thing to you in the world. Or if you're a family and you're suddenly homeless, your pet. So we work with Faithful Friends that actually has people on site in the Hope Center to help out. So we put all that in one place, and I think it's one of the magics that make the Hope Center so incredible and make it so successful.
Your communications director, Brian Cunningham, said to our teacher that you like to be quizzed.
I used to be a math teacher, so I like quizzing more than being quizzed. But if you want to quiz me, I'll take it.
Are you ready to come up? Are you ready for some quick questions?
Probably not, but let's go.
Favorite color?
Blue.
Favorite type of music?
What is it? Dancing on My Own? What's the Philly song? Yeah, Dancing on My Own.
What is your go-to karaoke song?
The Gambler by Kenny Rogers.
Favorite hobby?
Bike riding.
Favorite author?
Kurt Vonnegut.
Biggest accomplishment?
Before we go, are there any projects that you're currently working on that you would like to tell us about?
Sure. I appreciate the question, Luz. And this is, I don't want to say it's an unfair question because you can ask me whatever you want, but we didn't prep for this. So I got to think off the top of my head. Okay. Something I'm really passionate about is a lot of the problems we try to solve in our community, particularly with young people. We start trying to solve them when individuals are 15 years old, 17 years old, 20 years old. Maybe we'll say we need to start early, so we start when someone's 10 years old or 9 years old. We recently made an investment in an organization called Children and Families First to help mothers living in poverty who are having a child for the first time, to give them all the support. So imagine if every child born into a poor environment in our county was reading, right, by the time they enter kindergarten or first grade, right? Imagine if they have an incredible number of words. Imagine if their nutrition is top-notch from a young age. So we've been thinking a lot in my office about how we make those early childhood investments. What's interesting is when you talk to a lot of government officials like me, this costs millions of dollars. It costs a lot of money. People say this is really expensive, but when you look at not doing it and you try to solve it when people are 15, 18, 20, 25, it's a lot harder. There's an old adage, you can only bend a tree when it's young. And so we're working hard in Newcastle County to bend the tree when it's young.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Lewis. Thanks, Cadence, for your questions, and keep working hard. As I said, I was a high school journalist and ended up county executive. Maybe you can aspire to be county executive one day. Maybe I'll go be a journalist. We can switch seats for the next interview.